of UBI, Universal Basic Income. In the context of AI, can you describe your philosophy there of our human future with UBI? Why you like it? What are some limitations?
I think it is a component of something we should pursue. It is not a full solution. I think people work for lots of reasons besides money. And I think we are going to find incredible new jobs, and society as a whole and people's individuals are going to get much, much richer. But as a cushion through a dramatic transition, and as just like, I think the world should eliminate poverty if able to do so. I think it's a great thing to do as a small part of the bucket of solutions. I helped start a project called WorldCoin, which is a technological solution to this. We also have funded a large, I think maybe the largest and most comprehensive universal basic income study as part of, sponsored by OpenAI. And I think it's like an area we should just be looking into.
What are some insights from that study that you gained?
We're going to finish up at the end of this year, and we'll be able to talk about it hopefully very early next.
As the demand for cryptocurrencies surges worldwide, startups are looking for creative ways to attract crypto enthusiasts. In a first, a company called WorldCoin has said that it would scan people's eyes and reward them with digital currency. Sounds a little Black Mirror come Blade Runner, but it's not sci-fi, it's crypto fact. Sam Altman, an American entrepreneur and the chief executive officer of OpenAI, is the mind behind WorldCoin, and he has said that his new startup would hand out free digital currency to people who verify their accounts by taking an iris scan. WorldCoin is believed to have already raised $25 million in funding from investors, which includes Reid Hoffman, the billionaire co-founder of LinkedIn, and venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz. The startup's co-founders are Max Novenstern and Alex Blania. WorldCoin aims to launch a cryptocurrency distributed fairly across the world and become a collectively owned global currency. Alex Blania reportedly said that the startup aims to expand the reach of cryptocurrencies as it can widen the boundaries of the economy. So how will the WorldCoin work? WorldCoin has already shipped its orb-shaped devices to people in 12 countries. Now these are used to scan the iris. Testers get users to sign up by having their iris scanned. The image is then encrypted and becomes a unique code, with the original then deleted in order to protect the user's privacy. Once that's been completed, the individual then receives a free share of WorldCoin's cryptocurrency. So far, 100,000 global users have, excuse the pun, had their eyes on the prize. And WorldCoin aims to reach 1 billion users by 2023. Now, as for the actual ecosystem, well, at present it's designed to operate in a similar manner to the concept of Universal Basic Income, or UBI. The orb arrives, you pass on the details of your iris, you get free money, and the cycle continues. The view being in regards to UBI, that as automation ramps up and regular roles are pushed away in favour of machines and software that can perform the tasks typically done by humans, governments can subsequently mitigate those impacts through, of course, monetary handouts. Now, if you're like me, that's a pretty fancy way of saying increase government dependence on the slippery slope to communism, and quite literally sell your eyes in the process. But hey, I'm a cynic. Also, with all of the details that have been released and the interviews that have been conducted with those behind the project, it's incredible to me that nobody has stopped to ask exactly why the company wants the unique scan of your iris and what they plan to do with it. At the very least, it's creepy. At worst, it's a gateway to something rather Orwellian, especially with the backdrop of the past 2 years. Why exactly?
Welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are having a great day as we go into the weekend. We got to see some videos, some information about Chatgpt. Sam Altman, the creator of OpenAI, that's responsible for creating these sophisticated programs like Chatgpt, talk about how by forming this cryptocurrency he's created called WorldCoin is going to help to meet the challenges such applications could create for us in a near distant future, right? Or even now. Namely, talking about universal basic income. It keeps coming up. But I think watching the channel, if nothing else, we all have to agree that these very intelligent people are talking about universal basic income a lot. That's all we hear from these billionaires and people of this sort, right? And many of us find that to be the case because it's coming out to be the only solution to the problem, right? This is the only thing that seemingly they can come up with. And so I think we all, if nothing else, have to agree that universal basic income is going to be very important going forward into the future. And thus, many projects around universal basic income is going to be important. And that's what we're getting with WorldCoin. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And I want to make comparisons in it with the site we're on now, Bitcoin MYK, that has launched and is now available. So we want to make some comparisons. We want to talk about the pros and what I feel to be some cons in it, and how I think Bitcoin MYK was very carefully observant to many of the problems we would face with these cryptocurrency, these universal basic income projects, whether they be merged with cryptocurrency or standalone. I think, again, as I said in an earlier video, that universal basic income goes with cryptocurrency like peanut butter and jelly. So that's why it's no surprise that many cryptocurrency projects, along with the idea of universal basic income, are merging together. And we're going to see nothing but that, I believe, in the future. In fact, I'm going to make a very scary prediction to some, and that is I believe that the only cryptocurrencies that exist are going to either be universal basic income projects or they're going to be greatly merged with those economic models, meaning that you might have a cryptocurrency project, but it's going to incorporate some form of universal basic income in it because it just makes the most sense for distribution wise, right? This is just from deductive reasoning. They're all going to come this way. And the other scary thing to some people is going to be this, that whereas your average cryptocurrency projects, like even if we look at what we talk about on the channel a lot, projects like Hex and projects like Zen, right? When these two projects form, what happened? They began to be competitive with one another, afraid to lose market share, one taking more market share than the other. So they started this battle back and forth, right? Um, and the reason that's happening is because they have a very scarcity based model, both of them, in which they believe that uh, there's this pie, right? And this pie is only so big, and they're taking slices out of this pie. Whereas what we're going to find in universal basic income models, like what again with WorldCoin and even like Bitcoin MYK, what I think you're going to find is that where they're predicting 1 billion users probably as early as 2023, which is crazy, but it's going to be fascinating to see, and I believe they can achieve it. Bitcoin MYK is predicting 2 billion users, but not by 2023. So if they can pull that off, they would definitely have, that would be a pro for them that they can achieve that in such a record time. And it might be possible. If anything could do it, it'll be a universal basic income project. So I can believe it. Uh, Now, I think where we're going to see some issues with WorldCoin is how they achieve that, as we got to see in the earlier part of the video, and how Bitcoin MYK will achieve its 2 billion users, right? So I don't know why they're limited to 1 billion users. It might have something to do with the technology, but we're going to discuss that a little bit, right, as well. So let's first just talk about how WorldCoin works, right? Open the video, show how it works. Uh, let's focus on that technology, right? Retina scans, right? Something out of your favorite science fiction movie, something out of the Black Mirror universe, where they're able to ID you by your iris, by your eyes, right? Uh, Now, people are then asking, what do they do with that data, right? So supposedly it's supposed to be encrypted, so no, you're anonymous, but the implications of that, the things they can do with that is quite interesting because you don't universal basic income doesn't just solve one problem, it solves many problems, right? And some of those problems uh, is linked in our political systems, democracy. They can solve the voting issue, right? Where people can vote uh, not only an anonymous way, but they can vote and not worry so much about voter fraud, right? Because you don't have to worry about people sending in multiple ballots, right? They're able to, through this technology, people can sit home and vote, and you don't have to worry about voter fraud, so to speak, right? This could be leading to that. Uh, so that would be astronomical in its sense, what it could achieve, what could be achieved just by that. But then, obviously, Sam Altman focusing on the universal basic income part, trying to combat what automation and these artificial minds, this great technologies is going to take all human work, how to balance that. Because if you kind of think about it, if you do you share some responsibility in creating technologies that take jobs, right? But it's easy to destroy, it's easy to take, but to build, but to make right, to heal, how difficult is that? So if you're a in the technology field and you're creating this amazing technology that can do all this human labor to the point it leaves humans with no work, are you able to repair that, to atone that to some degree back to humankind, right? And Sam Altman's trying his way to do it. Uh, Bitcoin MYK, even though we haven't created any of the problems, we're just trying to solve the problems. We didn't create Chatgpt. WorldCoin did, OpenAI did, Sam Altman does, right? So he, at least in a responsible fashion, is finding a way to solve that issue, right? So let's just get back into it a little bit more about how the technology works. So at the highest level, because from what I understood from researching what Sam Altman's doing and what WorldCoin will do, um, the highest level is going to be these retina scans, right? Using your eyes for ID, and you're going to be ID'd by your eyes, like novels like Minority Report and or movies like Minority Report, right? I'm not sure. I don't believe it was called that in Philip K. Dick's novels, right? And the Blade Runners and all this dystopia future things, right? But um, uh, the people who are going to be willing to do that, they're going to earn these cryptocurrencies, right? Um, let's talk. That sounds interesting and a way to solve that problem of civil attacks and people trying to gain the system, steal from the system, imbalance the system, destroy the system, right? Which is a big problem with universal basic income. There's going to be these crazy people that are going to just try to come in and steal more of the cryptocurrency, fake IDs, and so on. So let's just real quick try to let's just say, for example, that retina scan does the trick and it solves this problem, right? How do they get this out to people? So I did download the application, and right off, one of the issues I found was that these orbs that they use, right? They use these things to do the retina scans. They are only available in certain areas, certain cities, and there was a map when I downloaded the app where to go, and I still couldn't find my nearest location across the United States, and in some cases it might be far. So this is going to be a challenge, a logistical challenge, putting these things out and get and getting everybody able to use them. And if you were to have something like a fair lunch, I guess they won't really need a fair lunch. People are just going to be getting in, but value wise, I would imagine some people are going to be able to get in and take advantage of it early. But there's going to be that disparity between people having access to this technology, to this retina scan that's going to give them certain levels of identification, which obviously I believe is going to give them more to cryptocurrency. But anyway, let's just put that to the side for a moment. Uh, uh, but I count that as a con. All right. Let's move on to besides that, who's this available for? Now, another thing is, for some reason, many of these universal basic income projects don't like to launch in the United States. And when they do launch in the United States, so if you're in the United States, it's going to be a con for you. If they do launch, you're going to have a lot of regulations with the SEC and so on and so forth, right? You know, I'm not exactly sure why that's so much a problem to them. Maybe because of how the distribution works, how they're giving it out, might can be in some instances classed as security, depending. Bitcoin MYK, that's more of a problem for them, I believe, than us, because we've done our universal basic income project more like a Bitcoin fork. So we're more so looking at it like if you're a Bitcoin holder, you just automatically get the cryptocurrency, right? And so we're going in that way. And part of the reason I think that's good for Bitcoin and why it has an advantage over something like WorldCoin is that if they were going to say, well, then the uh, the direction of that would be a security, then you would kind of have to look at Bitcoin as a security, right? As the cryptocurrencies coming out of the Bitcoin ledger, right? The direction. So uh, I think that would make things a lot more not so black or white, right? Whereas with WorldCoin, I think many of these UBI projects, because they're not part of a Bitcoin fork, they would be afraid to be under securities laws and so on and so forth, right? But let's put that to a side, right? I'm going to have to class that as a con as well. Now, what are the pros? Obviously, the pros are uh, the cryptocurrency is free. Mass adoption, global mass adoption becomes more possible when you're creating a participatory economy, right? That's what's so great about universal basic income. It brings everybody in. They're getting around any type of attacks with the retina scans, but whereas those sounds like solutions, they're, as we explained a little bit, they're kind of difficult solutions, right? Whereas I think Bitcoin and YK went a much more easier, inclusive direction. And what I mean by that, and this is just one way Bitcoin and YK gets around the identity fraud and people create multiple accounts. You can only have one account on Bitcoin and YK. The next thing is Bitcoin and YK, although it's multi-chain, we first filter through Hive wallets. Now, if you know anything about Hive, you know anything about EO, Steam, those type of platforms, uh, wallets cost money. Now, I know some people would say that's a con, but no, it's not really a con because they're very inexpensive. You might can get a wallet for $1 or something like that, a little bit over $1. The next part of that is that once you get it, all your transactions are pretty much free. So it would be like, imagine if you paid a couple of bucks and all your transactions for free. But even if a dollar or two would be a problem to, say, a poor person or a person trying to collect universal basic income, as much of the population trying to get a free cryptocurrency, they're not going to be able to pay for it or have the money. Hive is set up already in a way where they have a system where, in most cases, you can get the wallet for free, and then the bandwidth is paid from the stakeholders and so on and so forth. So basically, if there is a very easy way it's conducted in which you don't have to go through all these identification processes, and yet we have a great amount of protection against people trying to create multiple accounts, because the way our platform works, if you try to create the cryptocurrency on our site and disperse it to different wallets, it will block your withdrawals, right? So you will only be able to send it to the wallet that's identified to your wallet on the Hive system. The other thing is, even if you went on a Hive system or a system like EOS and you tried to create multiple wallets, what's the problem with that? Well, the problem with that is if you're a scammer, you're not going to want to be paying dollars for every unique wallet you need to create, right? Because then if you try to create 100 million wallets, you have to pay $100 million. And then what would happen in that instance? Well, what would happen next is you would then have a situation where that value would go back into the cryptocurrency itself because you had to you had to buy the cryptocurrency. And remember, the market effect on that, it wouldn't just be $100 million. It might send the market cap $1 billion or $2 or $3 billion, right? So those things are deterrents against people trying to scam the system. They're very easy ways that don't lock people out, because even if you have a situation where WorldCoin was to get 1 billion users, why can't they get 2.5 billion users, right? Well, Bitcoin MYK can, because all the people who are now limited out of WorldCoin, whether it's based on technology or logistics or whatever, won't be limited on Bitcoin MYK. And even if you look at social interfaces like what you get with Facebook or Twitter, where you might have several billion people, and of those several billion people, let's say 500 million are bots, but that because the value is so significant that even having several million bots doesn't really hurt the value that much of the Twitter or Facebook, simply because you got so many real users, you got so much economic value going into that, if that makes sense, right? But if you have any questions about it, feel more than happy to talk with you in the comment section to give you more specific details. But you can see that Bitcoin MYK would be a lot easier. Again, though, we are very happy to see more and more universal basic income projects. We support them. Remember, more than likely what will happen with universal basic income is everybody will start to use it, right? If you use one universal basic income project, you're just going to use the other. It won't be a situation like Hex, or it won't be a situation like Zen, and it won't be a situation like Steam versus Hive. It won't be a situation like EOS versus Hive. It won't be any competition, because more than likely it will just kind of, through like an osmosis, everybody will kind of merge together, because these cryptocurrencies and economies would essentially be free. And I believe they would essentially, in the UBI economies, they would essentially merge together into one global economy, right? If that makes sense. But again, I'll be perfectly happy to go over many of these more in-depth economic theories with you about why this works. I love to have a meeting with Sam Altman, because I think WorldCoin and Bitcoin and MYK, again, won't be competitors. They'll work together. But there will be various levels to the identification to stop Sybil attacks and stop people with these projects. I think Bitcoin MYK has a perfect balance where you don't have to really divulge any identification of yourself. But through the process, there's a great limitation on abusing the system, as we described earlier. But join Bitcoin MYK today. It's already launched. It's already on several exchanges. It's already got over 14,000 wallets. It's already went up 1,000%. And join the channel, learn why it's doing that, why it does that. But in a very simple viewpoint, if you can see how WorldCoin's already saying they feel they'll reach 1 billion users by 2023, before 2023 is over, which is just unfathomable. If they can see that, imagine what Bitcoin MYK, what we can see. We can see billions as well, billions of users, billions of dollars. That is because network effects create that value. And that value, that economic energy, can be used to support our UBI program and share with the global economy something that should have already come a long time ago, but is definitely coming without a doubt. That's all I want to say in this video. Join Bitcoin MYK today. It's totally free. It only takes you 30 seconds to get an account and start earning your universal basic income. Till next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.